was open and I had to close my door. Um, Hello, everybody. And if you're just getting set up, sorry, I'm turning my phone on so I can see any comments of anyone coming in. Oh, good. Nobody was really watching when I did delete, but you will in the other video. So I'm just letting the room fill up a little bit. Sorry, I'm so late getting in. I know I promised that I would do every day for 45 days, a few minutes to give a card of the day. Nice to see you again too, Tracy. See, I promised I'd be in. I didn't guarantee times. Starting next week, I'll have a more scheduled time of these 45 cards that we're doing. It'll most likely be earlier in the day. I'm thinking morning. So hopefully by Monday, I should have a good little morning schedule going when I come in to do this card. So hello. Hi, Brianne. Welcome. First time here. Nice to see you. Welcome to my space. Always nice to see new people joining us. Hello. So I'm just letting everybody get in here. If you watched yesterday's video, and so Brianne being new, I started yesterday with my cards. I'll show you. So I just created I'm in the process of creating my first deck of Oracle cards, and they do go into the series of my book, More Than Existing, and my program. I do a lot of shadow work. I do a lot of self-actualization, empowerment, transformation, all of those things, plus psychic medium, past life healer. Myself and a friend of mine created a school called Corey School of Magic. Her name's Lisa Richard, and together we created this school that is just growing like crazy. But this is CoreyThorne.com. This is Corey Thorne, the spiritual healer page, and this is where most videos are shared. So welcome. And for all my regulars, you know exactly who I am and what I do. But for my new people that are joining tonight, I always love to see new people. So yesterday, if you didn't watch this video yesterday you'll see a post that says day 1 of 45. So we're doing 45 days of sharing the new Oracle cards, but right now they are still only on pictures. The cards are gone to print for the beta decks, so I'll get my decks to start seeing how they feel, if I like the style, if I like, if I need to change anything. So I'll have those hopefully next week. But right now we're using the pictures. So yesterday we did 0, which is our wholeness, and 0 is as powerful as any other number, well, more powerful than all the other numbers, kind of in a way. And so this card is purity. And so if you missed yesterday's video, I do suggest go back and watch it. This deck of cards is the everyday goddess. They are from the shadow. So whether you're male, female, doesn't matter. The cards still work. It's just that they are all based through the female story because they're based around my story, my journey through. And not all cards are exactly me, but it's in the creation of learning to come from stop running from myself and to fully accept, embrace, to do the work that I need it to do. And that's, sometimes that's not always easy. So, Christy, I'm glad I can be here. Yes, Christy, grief is shitty. It really is. And it's like we don't realize the impact physically, emotionally, that grief has on us. Sometimes when we're just trying to exist or we're just trying to survive through it, and you don't realize what it's actually doing to your body and how much every day you have to fight through. So and some days you just have to sit back and just allow that, whatever experience is happening, just allow it to happen. Hi, Jessica and Missy and Karen, Wendy, Cynthia, Brandy, hello. Raina, hi. And Wendy, and I said hi to Brianne, and somebody who's following us new today, which I love. Felicia, Sherry, hi. And Rita, hello. Cheryl, Danielle, Ellie, Tracy, everybody that sees so far. I know there's more watching, but unless you comment, I can't mention the names. So I am doing the 1 card. So this card is tonight is the second card from the shadow. So this picture, go this way. This picture that you see on my wall is the box cover. This is the box cover to the Oracle cards. It is the Everyday Goddess Oracle cards. We hope to start pre-sales. Hopefully, we don't know anything yet. Hopefully, we can start pre-sales by the end of February type of thing, but not yet. Well, Amelia, yes, it's hard time with depression. Well, you're in here perfect time because this is the deck of cards that are the everyday goddess, or the everyday person who's been through some of our lowest places, and we're rising. And so these cards were created from there. And when you see the beauty in the pictures, you see that even in our darkness there's still beauty and light around us. And that's what these cards are. No, so Karen, tonight I'm mostly going to focus on one. We'll see how it goes, because this is what I'm doing is for 45 days straight. I'm coming in every single day and just stopping in and doing the one card, and still doing my other lives as well, my big lives. But I'm stopping in to do the one card. So, but you never know what's going to happen when I'm in here, because the channel kind of controls what I'm going to do in when I'm in here. So we'll see. But this is the card. This is still in picture. It doesn't look like an oracle card yet, but the oracle cards do have a whole look to it now. It is in print for us to have some cards. So next week, hopefully you'll be able to see the cards. So this is card number 1. Yesterday was card 0. We're starting right from the beginning of the journey. And this is card 0. The cards are separated by maiden, mother, crone, the different stages of life that we take. And so this beautiful card is also the cover. And this card, actually, I sketch them, and then my artist creates her visionary through my sketches. So it's to see the interpretation from my view to her view is incredible. This first card here, number 1, arrived to me the same time that my granddaughter was born in June. And Amelia Richard, the artist, she did not know that my granddaughter was born. And this card, and she had created this little card. And so this little card is called the Return to Innocence. Her name is Grace, and we call her Grace. And so when we look at grace, when we're here to walk in grace, when you understand what it is to return to grace, to live by grace, grace I am. I am grace, whatever you use to represent grace, or learning to understand what grace means. And it is the essence to be able to see yourself through the eyes of God, to see yourself as the child of God, to see yourself as worthy, as valuable, as wonderful as that. And so that's the return kind of to that sense of the innocence. And when we look at our childhood, when you look at the conditioning around life, when you look at the things that condition us, is that you don't know you're bad. You don't know you're bad. You don't know you're evil. You don't know any of those until you hear it for the first time. And so when somebody repeats over and over and over, you're bad, you're so bad, you're so bad, you're so bad, then what does a child think, right? And so when we return to the grace, when we hit that spot in life and we say, hey, this is not working. Like, what makes me any less valuable than any other human? No matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we're still part of we're still human, and humanity doesn't get to be selective over who's a worthy human being. And I've been preaching this for a while now. And so this card, Grace, when you learn to show yourself mercy. So it's when you can hit that point in life when you can show yourself as much mercy as you show to everyone else. Just imagine, would you mistreat a child by telling a child all this awful stuff? So why, if you wouldn't do it to your child, why would you look in the mirror and do it to yourself, right? Why would we allow that within ourselves? And so when you keep saying that, oh, I'm awful looking, and I'm not good looking, or I'm aging, I'm old, I'm fat, I'm da-da-da, but then you have a child and somebody says to you, oh, your child looks just like you. And then the child has just heard you repeat over and over and over again all of these awful things about you. What is that child hearing? Well, it's the same thing of when we speak to ourselves. When we speak to ourselves this way. And to return to the child, the innocence, that we're all innocent. We're all innocent until the innocence is taken. right? Until something takes us from seeing the the wonder in life, that takes us away from there. But we all have the opportunity to return to that place. And it's about showing ourselves mercy, forgiveness, and learning that forgiveness is a process, not a word, not just, oh, I forgive you. Forgiveness is a process, and it starts with you first. Always about forgiving yourself for thinking you were ever responsible for everything, that you were responsible to carry the burdens of the harm that somebody else did, or that you're responsible to carry the shitty ass behavior of somebody, that you had to carry that words that were projected up onto you. So when you sit down to forgive yourself first, right, that you're responsible for everything, that everything that's happened in life is mine. You're not here to carry that. And so I see you, I hear you, I forgive you. All of those things truly do make a difference when you look in the mirror and you speak to the inner child, you speak to the inner adult. So I teach a lot of work around the inner child, the inner young youth of you, the other versions of you, the past of you. Hello, my mother, who's in here watching. And so this card, being Grace with her beautiful wings. And so what you notice is in the back, there's a beautiful old tree, right? And the old tree, and then there's brand new blossoms. So we all have the opportunity, no matter how old we are, to give life, to give birth to a new life, to see the beauty within life. Because with the trees, they don't look at themselves, say, I'm too old to create now, so to create such beautiful things. I'm not, it's like, it's still, no matter what, every year it has a rebirth. It sits dormant, it pauses, it goes through its downtime, and then it starts to come back, and it grows beautiful new green leaves. So no matter how old it gets, it's still beautiful, it's still worthy, it's still wonderful. No matter what it has been through, it's still, you can break a branch off and it'll still grow. You can, unless you cut it down, tear its roots out, even if you cut it down to a stump, a new sprout will start to grow up. And so we always have those opportunities. Amelia, I want to read Amelia for a moment. My 4-year-old daughter absolutely loves herself, and I'm very careful to preserve that. I know what it's like to look in that mirror and absolutely hate yourself. I never want her to feel that way. Yeah, exactly, right? So okay, Amelia, this is a good example. So if you want that for her and you're very careful to not do it for her, you have to remember that that little innocent child, that same little light is inside of you. And we have to treat ourselves the same way. So when we are going through depression, when we are going through something, nurturing yourself. Mother the innocence in you. Mother the inner child in you. Mother those parts of you. Nurture you. Become the mother to yourself and not be expecting the outside world to be doing that for you. And so when we go through grace, this is how the cards, like, there's a lot of writings, but the cards have things on them. I just got to find some glasses. There's some dirty glasses, but they're glasses. So grace, the attitude, so we base these on our attitude is showing, right? The attitude of innocence, unintentionally selfish, innocent, but something. I don't know what this is. Oh, innocent but aware of a truth. Innocent but aware of a truth. So our attitude truly is with this card is that we're innocent. We are innocent, and often we are unintentionally doing things that may not be so innocent, may not be so, we innocently joke with people, or we innocently make comments, and we don't mean to do harm, and it does harm. So we do that to ourselves, laughing and joking at ourselves. And so we also now, it's that, but we're innocent, but we also have an idea that we also know truth. And how do we know truth? We know truth by how we feel. Even a child, a baby, knows how they feel. If they feel hungry, if they feel scared, they know how they feel. The body tells you how you feel. So that sense of innocence never goes away. The head gets in the way. So the triggers to emotional stories, and children have a lot less of those stories. As an adult, you have a whole lot of those stories, and you can get caught so easily in those stories and become very caught up in and triggering yourself back. So when you find yourself responding the way you would previously, like if we're grown adults and we're having tantrums or we're very offended by everything, then chances are, well, every time we're offended, we're actually judging ourselves. Every time we're in that energy, is that we're in a place of fear, of judgment, and that whole sense of being offended by everything is the fact that we're taking everything as if it is personally against us, as if the world is all doing this to me. What am I allowing to happen within myself that takes me from my happy place, right? What removes me from my happy place? And so when we're going through that energy of, feeling like we're suppressing everything down, is that when we're in our depression and we're in the anxiety, and I'm not no doctor, but I'm a woman who has been through my share of depression over the years. And sometimes I don't even know where it has come from, but it happens. And so it's all about not being able to communicate a truth, not being able to speak up, or not being able to find a way to put that out. So suppression, what you suppress, and it keeps trying to come out. And so we think that we're holding it in. We think we're holding those secrets. We think we're keeping everything in, but we're not. It is showing through your attitude, how you're behaving. And if you've seen my Instagram post, I posted about hate. And I posted about, it's like I live in awe. I live in awe and I live in disbelief sometimes of what I see as what has caused us to become, what has caused not everybody to use to justify our bad behaviors, or the unhealthy behavior, to justify how we can pick and choose what is hate. We can pick and choose. But if we return to the innocence, if we return to the original source of our issues, I can guarantee you it is not what's happening today. It is not what's happening, because if you're very offended by everything in the world, or you're criticizing, you're judging everybody, and you're trying to fix the outside world instead of fixing you, instead of doing the work on you. If we're doing all of that, chances are the original issue is not right here. The original issue goes way back. And so we're triggering back into an old trauma response. And we don't make wise decisions from fight or flight brain. We really don't. And I'm in writing the book The Way, I wrote, it's not for me, it's not fight or flight, because I'm not someone who's a fighter. I've never hit a person ever in my life, ever. I'm like, but I'm somebody who avoids. So I avoid and flight. I avoid and flight. I'm a jumper, right? So it's like when I avoid all things that I don't want to deal with, or I can't deal with, and then everything builds up around me. And that's when we get, so I innocently self-sabotage myself, because I get afraid, or used to, not so much no more, but I would get afraid of what I would have to deal with, because it becomes too much. It becomes overpowering. So I would avoid everything, and then everything would come piling in. Well, then my attitude would show. I would get frustrated. I would be on edge. I'd be cranky. I call it my bitchy talk. I would have my bitchy talk, and I would be bitchy. And when you get that bitchy talk, you don't realize the impact that bitchy talk can have up on other people, because you get snippy, or you get argumentative, and you get this energy going. Like you just get this, and you can hear yourself. You can hear it. And then you're like, and then after it was all out, and I would be able to breathe, then I would spend, not everybody does this, but this would be me. Then I would spend at least 3-4 weeks, or 6 months, beating myself up for that moment that I just had, where I wasn't perfect, where I wasn't in my shoes, in my proper way, where I lost my shit, where I did something that was, out of norm for me. And it would be an escalade. It would all just, like, it was snowball once it was up, and it's like, and then you just explode. And some people, when they get it all out and they get mad at the world, and then they're like, oh, I feel so good. Now everybody else is all worked up and angry. I'm good now because I got it out. No, not me. That was just another reason to whip myself some more, to beat myself up some more, to lash out harsh words at myself, innocently doing more harm to myself than what anyone else could have ever done to me. So I was always, my best friend was my enemy. And so when you make yourself, when you recognize that the biggest enemy that you have in the world is yourself, that's when you truly make a choice to sit down and go, okay, is this working for me? So I had to become friends with the enemy. You got to become friends with your twin flame. You got to recognize you're the twin flame of yourself. You got to recognize those parts. And so when I returned to that little scared little girl and I found her and I discovered her not in my head, in my body. Your body has muscle memory and it remembers. So even if you've gone to counseling 6,000 times about something and then you're wondering why is this still bothering me? Well, chances are your body has stored this. And it's like when you do deep seated healing, when you do the inner work, and I always say, it's not about saving the humans, it's about saving the soul. And when you save the soul essence of us, when you go in far enough to do the work, the soul self does the work to help the human. And so the human is not as powerful as the light of what is inside. The human is a very conditioned, and the human is impossible to be perfect, right? And so we're going to be imperfect. We're going to have human moments. We're going to have human experience. But when you learn to forgive yourself, so when I would have those moments and I would recognize them in the moment instead of beating myself up and torturing myself for 3 or 4 months down the road, then I would stay right there with it and say, okay, that just happened. It wouldn't happen as long anymore after that. That just happened. Now, what was that? And I could say, you know what? That's just not me. And I don't know where that just came from. And I'm so sorry that just came out. And so you find that that's courage. That's courage, right? That's finding that courage. And so the return to the little child, would I beat a child up for 3 or 4 months, like emotionally saying, you know what? When we were at that store, what you did was so wrong, da 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 da, right? It's like you would nurture that child. You would love that child. You might try to discipline the child in a way of saying, you know what, let's correct that behavior. But we wouldn't continue to do that to a child, not when we're in a healthy mind. So it's like, why would we do that to ourselves? And always remember that. Would I treat another that way? Would I treat another child that way? Would I? So when you can see through the eyes of love, you can see all of you. And when you can see all of you, you can see your truth. And through the eyes of a child, through the eyes of a child, we see a person. We see a version, a person, an entity that has always stayed with us. We see something. And it's not the person itself. That version of you is long gone, but it is the energy. It is the emotional attachment of when we do not let go of a story, or we're unaware of a story, we're unaware of something within our lives that is holding us captive. So this is truly about being able to let not, and I always say, people say, just let go. It's not that freaking easy. It is not that easy. And so it's that sense of when you understand when people are trying to get you to let go. What I say is accept what is yours. Take ownership of what is yours, because you can't give away what is not yours. So if you have claimed somebody else's behavior, if you had claimed responsibility for somebody else's behavior, if you've claimed all of that and you take it all in, well, it is not yours. So if you own what is yours, you take, and this is what ownership and responsibility. I take ownership and responsibility for my actions, my response, my reactions, my words. I take ownership for that. That's mine. But I'm done taking ownership of somebody else. I accept my part. I accept that I've done, I accept this, but I don't accept that, because that's not mine. Because you can't give away what's not yours. You can't give that away, but you can give it back, right? It's like, I give that to you. That's your responsibility. That's not mine. And so you take back only what is yours, and then you work on healing. This is mine. This is how I contributed. I contributed by staying in something so long, thinking that I could be the person that could make the change, that I could. And so that was satisfying your needs. And in my book, there's a chapter called The Narcissist in Me. If you've read this and you didn't get it the first time, let me tell you again, because I'm going to say this is a book that you have to read a couple times because it's channeled. So there's like lines that are seem a little bit like wonky and all that, but it's not. It's on purpose. And so um, this chapter is called The Narcissist in Me, that we all have a narcissistic tendency inside of us because we all get into something where we hold on for so long, or we keep trying to do something. We keep trying to be liked. We just kind of trying to validate who we are. Anything that we do, we just want to be the martyr to everybody, right? We're always trying to be the martyr. We want to be the person. We're always there for everybody. And we say, oh, I stayed in this for this reason. I stayed in this relationship for this reason. I stayed here because of this. No, you stayed because, and this is the way I took my ownership and responsibility. No, I stayed because I was afraid to make my decision to leave. I stayed because it was comfortable. I did this because I did that. And by taking that I and taking the ownership of my part, not of somebody else's, but of my part, I thought if I did this, then they would be better. If I did this. And so in the book, I write about all of these experiences. And I say, it's like I used to always tell the stories of, well, they did this to me and they did that to me. It's like, no, if you look back with a healthy mind and you're taking ownership and responsibility, I knew I had flags. I made a choice. I chose to stay. I chose to do this. I made a choice and I chose. So when you do this and you make those choices and you choose, well, now you got a new choice, right? You take, okay, so now I have a choice to claim what is mine, to look at myself from the grown-ass adult I am today. I am not the child. I'm a grown-ass woman. So from the woman or the man that I am today, because we have men that's also in here as well. So from the man I am today, I take ownership and responsibility I accept that I'm too forgiving. I accept that I play the whole I'm loyal to, we can be too loyal, honest. So the narcissist in me is that it is actually fulfilling a want, a desire to keep you seeking and searching to be validated, to be loved, to be enough, to be all of those things. But if you can think of yourself as that, you absolutely are not a narcissist, because a narcissist doesn't even know what a narcissist is. That's true. And so this whole sense of blossoming and growing and awakening and opening, returning to the innocence, showing yourself mercy, the same way you could forgive other people, and looking at yourself, the way forgiveness starts and self-forgiveness and surrendering and letting go and healing is by first recognizing what is actually yours. Because if it's not yours, you can't fix it. Just like a human being. If it's not you, you can't fix it, because you can't fix anybody. It is not your job. I can't fix anybody. You all have a free will choice. I can give all the tools, all the guidance. It's like the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot force the horse to drink. Same truth, right? And so you can keep staying on that story and in that story. Oh, I just, it's going to be better this time. Things are going to change. It's going to be a whole different story and da 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 da. Was it a different story last time? Was it a different story? So what is it? What is this fulfilling for you? What are you getting out of this? Right? What am I getting out of this? What am I doing? And so what is this doing for me? And by staying in an argument, a fight, or always, telling, if you have one person and then you're out to get them because you had an argument and you're going to tell everybody how awful of a person they are and you're going to ruin their lives and you're going to get them. What is that fulfilling for you? And then you're justifying how I'm not angry, I'm not bitter, I'm not hateful, I'm a very kind person. I'm a very kind person. I wouldn't hurt anybody. I wouldn't do this. But in the meantime, just make sure you don't speak to that person. If I were you, I'd block that person. If I were you, I'd do this. Get rid of that person. But I'm kind. Do you see? Do you see what we do? But we're not aware. Once we're aware of our behaviors, once we're aware of how we act and respond in our situations, we're innocent until we know different, right? So once you know what you're doing, once you're aware of it, now you know. Now you know, right? And so once we get past that and you'll be able to move and shift that energy, you're like, oh, yeah. It's like, yeah, no, that was my experience with the person. I had my part, they had their part. This is what happened. This is how grown adults work, right? This is how healthy adults would communicate this. No, you know what? We're both grown adults. We both played our parts. This is what went on. This is what happened. But I don't need to, you don't need to be concerned with that because I don't need to lay that over onto you because that's not my job is to convince you to dislike somebody who you've had no problem with, who you've had no, or that you have a different belief system with, right? Like, it's like that's not for me to do. That's called manipulation, right? And we manipulate situations to align to what we want in our lives, to make things go our way. And so that's children do that unintentionally. Children are innocent to it because they're just trying, they're in survival instinct because they're still youthful and young and they're in survival. So if you're doing that, if you're behaving that way, then you are operating from fight or flight. You're operating from survival instinct, instinctual, and still wanting to belong. So you're flip-flopping back and forth in your energy. You want to belong somewhere, you want to fit in somewhere, and then you also want to be, I want to belong, but I want to be this. And then that whole survival stuff kicks in. And so once you're aware of your behavior, of how you behave, then now you know there's an opportunity now in this moment for me to make some corrections, to correct my path, not to beat yourself up, not to go there. I need to start correcting some of this within myself. And so what that does, what we mean is that once you accept, now you have the opportunity to change your words from angry words or words that project harm onto another, because that's called cursing. And we change it to words of compassion. And when we change our words to words of compassion, is that you don't have to agree with each other. You don't even have to speak to each other again, but to have compassion for humanity, to have compassion for each other in a certain way, is to know that you have to let go of that desired outcome, that to get my way, to get people on board with me, to build up any hate groups or society within my own little clan, my own little world, my own little people, is that's unhealthy. If you think back to high school and being teenagers in school, how many times did you see you could only belong in groups, and then they would find that one person they think that would want to be in there so bad, and when they would pretend to bring them into the group, and then they torture by making fun, teasing, and then say we were all just fucking joking, go over there, get out of the group. Well, actually, we're watching grown adults do that. We're watching grown adults do that, right? Or that sense of not belonging, and then we bully and we pick on, and we're seeing a lot of that. And so we're innocent until we know better. Now that we do better, we have an opportunity to do better. So it's like when you see on her waist, she's wearing a little lotus flower on her waist. She's wearing a belt of a lotus. And the belt of the lotus, the flower of the lotus, is not directly in between, where the solar plexus and the sacral, so our emotional connection, is not right in the middle of the emotional connection or umbilical cord connection, and it's not right in the middle of the power center. It is to the side. And it's to the side because it is our side organs that are like that connect into all of our lymphatic system, all of that, and our kidneys, our liver, those things within us, they hold the toxins, right? And so all the angers, the toxins that we have energetically that we've stored up, we also stored up there. So if we move ourselves aside, get out of your own way. Get out of your own way, move yourself aside, lose the ego trip, let the fear, the true fear, understanding what true fear is and what false evidence appearing real is, and to recognize you are not the little girl anymore. You're a grown adult. So even if you had an experience that feels like this experience feels in that moment, you now know that you are not the person. So logic tells you you're not 3, you're not 5, you're not 10. Like, I'm almost 50. So I'm almost 50. I'm not 3. So logic tells me I'm not that same situation, even though something of it feels that way. So it's like, no, no, that's not real. How's this real? What is real for me right now? What is in this present moment? And everyone's truth is we all live in these realities that we create. We create the illusions of the realities that we want to live in. We create our stories, we live in our stories, and we hold conviction to our stories. And when you have no story, what do you have? You have freedom. You have freedom. And when you have freedom to grow. So this is the beginning. Well, we have 2 cards now. So now we've done 0. We've done purity. This is the most purest moment in the world, is when you have that moment when you just pause, take a breath, and you breathe, and you just let it all go. And then we have grace, the ability to learn what it means to live by grace. And Raina made a comment about living by grace earlier here. And Raina is, yeah, by the grace of God, there go I. Yes, exactly. By the grace of God. And so I always say, by the grace of God, I'm still here. By the grace of God, I exist. By the grace of God, I've had this opportunity. By the grace of God, I've created my opportunities. By the grace of God, I am healed to be able to walk this new journey. By the grace of God, I have seen the light in me. By returning to seeing that I am a child of God, and whatever God means to you, whatever God means to you, I don't pick and choose, and I don't tell anyone what to believe in. That's not how more than existing works. More than existing is a world where all of us who've kind of needed a place, where you need a place to rest. And so this is more than existing. And more than existing was when I got honest with myself and I stopped telling myself those little white lies, the half-assed truth, the versions of the stories that kept me being a victim to my own circumstances, to my own stories, that kept me being, the poor me child, the poor me number 2 child, all that. When I got out of my own way. And the truth of it is that when I wrote this book, I wrote the title down a long time ago. And then from the shadows, the everyday goddess oracles is my shadow work. It's helping people to stop running from self. You will never deal with the issues at hand. That if you don't stay in the moment of when the issues are arriving, deal with right now. You can't suppress. If you keep running, eventually it catches up with you. Your attitude is always showing, whether it's an unhealthy body, unhealthy mind, unhealthy words, or it's the fact that you overact. So you act too nice, you act too kind. You're loyal to everything. And you're loyal, I always say I'm loyal to a freaking fault. I'm loyal even to the people that have even been assholes to me, because I even forgive. And I was amazed at how many people that I still would even have in my world that I would even still add as friends no matter what they had done to me. And I would say, that was okay. That's okay. It's okay that you hurt me. It's okay that you tried to ruin my life. It's okay. It's not okay. And not saying I don't forgive, but you can have boundaries and you don't have to be loyal. And it doesn't mean that you're going to run around running people down. But when you know your truth and you know who you are, is that you also know your worth and your value. And the people that are around you, you find out once you start to find yourself living from a place of grace and finding yourself living from a place of love instead of anger. And once I transmuted my anger to a voice of love, then you start to find out that even some of the people you tried to drive away were the people that you actually needed in your life the most. The people that you kept trying to hold on to were all a part of that self-satisfaction, that self-absorbed thought that I'm going to make things better. I'm going to fix these people. And so you find yourself then just letting go of attachment, a desired outcome, expectations, and a desire to fix anybody. And so when me and the channel started to write this book, it was like I wrote of the essence of I am done. I am discovering happiness and joy no matter the cost. And I wrote, I had no idea what it was going to cost me, but it cost me everything that I could afford to lose. But the life I was living in was cost me everything I could not afford to lose. And that's not my life with anyone in particular. That's my life with this enemy, me. I was my own worst enemy. I was causing my biggest issues, my choices to choose to keep holding on or to keep beating myself up. And that's where we are. So returning to the innocence is the sense of learning that show yourself mercy, show yourself forgiveness, and that sense of remembering things the way that they were from the eyes of a child is never going to be the same. So from a version of a child, through the eyes of a child, and if you keep comparing your life from the eyes of that you used to be, then you're seeing it from where you were, the age, the environment. And so when you let go, I always say the eyes lie to us. And so when you let go and you let go of the thought that you knew exactly what it was like, and you remember most of the memories we have are often on repeat, including they came from some hearing other people repeat your childhood stories over and over and over again. Yes, yes, Kelly, too nice. And there's such a thing as being too nice. You can be kind, you can be compassionate, but you don't have to sell yourself short. And so tomorrow is I teach 2 goddess courses. And so tomorrow I'm doing soul revival, soul retrieval. So we travel back and pick up the pieces of us that we left behind. And so tomorrow, that's actually what I'm doing is we actually work on these things of where, that whole sense of too nice or too kind, or those places where you don't have that balance of giving and receiving. So being too nice, sometimes we're trying to be a martyr. How is that serving my highest good? What am I getting out of that? What do I want from people? Do you want to be liked? Do you want everybody to love you? You're not here to be liked by everybody or to be loved by everybody, but you're here to like and love yourself, and you're here to do the right things for the right reasons. And that means of the highest good, not to satisfy, pleasure your wants or pleasure your insecurities and your fears. And when we stop pleasuring our insecurities and our fears, we truly can start to be the change, because then we start to be willing to face ourselves. When you keep projecting your story out onto another, your hurt, your harm, turn around and look in that mirror, because what you're doing, what you see in that person is something that you're seeing in yourself, and we project it out. And so bringing it home, the way home, and my new book, The Way Home, to me, that I'm writing, is that whole sense of when you can find that sense of liberty, freedom, when you can set yourself free and you start to bring it home to here, you recognize you don't try to build empires on weak foundations. You don't try to build your life from not fixing, by not doing the work. You see yourself as, I must be pretty damn good. I've made it this far. So I'm not broken. I'm fragmented. So you see yourself fragmented, right? I'm fragmented. There's pieces of me all over the place. And I have to do the foundation work. I have to go back and look at the conditioning, look at the life that, the stories that I live in. And we do that work. And then we build something that is a strong structure on a very strong foundation, knowing that we leave room for the fact that, we're going to have to make changes and adjustments with time. So I hope that card resonates with you, and I hope by mid next week we'll have the other cards. But every single day for 45 days, I am sharing. This is just a picture right now, and that's the box cover up there. And the golden God, everyday goddess you see over there, her name is Davina. It took us a few days. It was myself and my friend Lindsay Burt and Michelle Gibson. They came and spent a few days with me, and we allowed the cards to speak to us. We infused healing and energy into the cards, prepared them to go. So the cards are so alive. And so, yeah, it's so beautiful. And yes, exactly. I'm learning humility, not humiliation. Yes, exactly. I think that's actually next week's class, Raina. That's actually in one of your classes. It's true. It is like humility and not humiliation. And so when you understand that, It truly makes a difference. And so I said, it's very, from the place that I get to teach now, I'm teaching that board you see over there. That's my level 4 of more than existing. And I feel myself when I teach, I'm like, I feel like this sense of like humbled humility, like humble humility. Like I feel almost like, who am I to do this? But why not me? And why not you? It's like, why not you live a healthy, happy life? Why not you see yourself as through the eyes of innocent? Why not you see yourself in grace? Why not you? What makes you any less than anyone else in this world to not be worthy of a good life? And as I was teaching my students the other day, I said, you know, we get caught up in that to be somebody of value, we got to try to be this big job, we got to be this. But no, it is what we do with where we are. It's what we do when where God places us, that invocation. That's where we're placed. Where we're placed, what you do where you are. And how we show up. Everyone has a divine purpose. How we present ourselves, how we live within ourselves, how we find ourselves creating from this place. That's what makes a difference. And we allow ourselves to be the best that we can be in the positions, in the places that we are, and we're not defined by titles. That's not what defines us. Who you are as a human, what you are, really truly is what defines us. Kind, compassionate, beautiful. There's many things that I can think of. Many. And you all have that within you. Yes, tomorrow's class Monday. I love teaching my goddess classes. I love teaching everything, but Chandra, as a medium, can you see people's lights inside of them? Well, yeah, it's easy to see lights. So my statement I always say is that if you could see what I could see in you, that's one of my greatest abilities, Chandra, is I always see what people can't see in them. I've been doing that since I was a kid. It's easy to see. Yeah, I see what people can't see. And that's what I'm reaching for. I'm not reaching to fix your human. I'm reaching for the light. I'm reaching for you to be able to walk yourself through from those shadow self, from trying to run from those parts of you that you've told yourself were bad, not good enough, those things. And we reach for that light because that light is not harmed. It doesn't need us. It's perfectly, beautifully in place. And we're all the same light. Jen, how to deal with toxic work environment, affected physically, no changes. Can we heal in a toxic environment? So Jen, yes, you can to a certain degree. You got to think, it's like when you're in an environment like that, what am I absorbing? Right? It's like, what am I allowing? And what am I allowing to affect my inner peace? And so when you look at your inner peace, your personal peace, your personal space, owning that boundary, that place, and no one's ever allowed, no one has any right to be emotionally abusive to us. Only the right that we give them. And so if you do it to somebody and you say, and you quickly correct that, because we're human, we all have moments. But when you have it as a work environment, do I have to be there? And sometimes we have to stay for a time. So we start planning, start creating your future. I know that this will not be the place for me, and I know that there is a new opportunity coming. Start praying. Pray for that opportunity. Start seeing your opportunity. Start creating an opportunity to remove that you will be not in that environment, and write it out. I'm done. I'm done. I am not living like this. This is not. And so you start to make those changes. But what am I allowing to take hold of me? This is work. This is not my personal. And so what am I allowing? Right? And that's the truth. What am I accepting that is not mine? What am I claiming as my responsibility that's not mine? Start separating yourself from the toxic words and conversations. And I always say, if it's a group, if it's like a constant group and it starts, change the conversation. Just keep changing the conversation. It helps. Missy, I spend a lot of time stressing and worrying about some of my family, and I get almost physically sick. I choose a different path, and what saying is making me realize that I should be putting more energy in my own life. What can I control? Yeah, you can't change family. So that's worry and stress. Worrying will never solve nothing. Worrying cannot fix anything. Worrying is taken away from your personal inner peace. And I would say if they're grown as adults, they're making a choice to choose. So if they're making a choice to choose their actions and their behaviors, it's like you choose, right? It's like, so if that they're making their choice, you have to accept that that is the choice that they're making. But you also have the opportunity to make a choice to choose yours. You choose your happiness. You choose to do the things to keep your health, your life healthy. Because if you have a family that needs you need to be here for them. So you feed and fuel yourself and you operate from that place. You're not here to be a martyr to the cause, and that never helps anyone. So a martyr is often based on being a victim previously. And it's that when we're willing to sacrifice ourselves over and to sell all of our personal peace to fix people that don't want to keep worrying and not fix, but to keep worrying and stressing about people who who don't want your assistance right now, that don't want your help, doesn't mean that we can't pray for them or send out telepathic messages into little balls. And I always say send out little messages of love, but with no expectation and no desired outcome. Don't set an intention of an outcome. Just send out, I send you love, I send you healing, I send you, and put it in little balls. This is what you can do. Before I go, I'll tell you this. So you imagine you got a little ball, and you got a little ball of energy, and you got this little ball, and you imagine, you ask for this to be filled with loving, healing energy, whatever it is. And then you imagine writing a word in there, but don't get attached. And you send it, and you imagine sending it right into their energy, right into their aura, right into them. Just and then you ask of their spirit to accept. Ask their spirit self, ask them to accept this love that I'm this loving energy I'm sending you. Accept this loving word that I'm sending you, whatever it may be, and send it. And so you can send that, you can pray, but don't pray with an intention to get what you want. And don't, if you pray to get this intention that you want, I always think of this. There was an opportunity for a prayer circle that had happened one time, and everybody's talking about praying to bring, everybody's praying that this person makes it, praying that they survive, praying, asking to keep them here, keep them here, keep them here at all costs, just keep them here. Well, sometimes that cost of keeping them here, like what we're wanting and what we're getting for to make us happy in the moment, what if that's costing somebody else? And I always say that when you stay in a situation for way too long, or you don't let somebody have their fall, like for you, because you're doing it for you. You're doing it so that your personal peace is not disturbed, so that you don't have to go through that grief, or you don't have to go through those moments. And so by wishing and wanting, and you get what you want, what if it comes at such a high cost to them that they're stuck here in an unhealthy state, in a state that leaves them just existing upon this earth? Or what if that whole sense of you holding on too long? And I've seen this many times through addictions. And when people let go and just trust that they're making a choice to choose, that you let them fall to where they need to go. And then they all of a sudden get this aha moment that they want to be their own inspiration, and they rise up and they come back. And when they do that, it is their choice. And so if you keep people comfortable in their addictions, if you keep people comfortable in their lives, or if you keep trying to hold on to people, if you keep you holding on to a relationship that's already failed, then you're not just holding yourself from having a happier life, you're also keeping the other person from the opportunity of a happy life. And that's a truth. So when we look at it, it's like, what is this costing? Right? And so if it's costing your inner peace, it was costing this, it was costing that, or what is this going to cost? And I always do that. What is this costing? What is this little moment of crazy I'm having right now? What is this costing me? Is it costing my inner peace? How many hours is it going to take for me to return from this little flare up I'm having of emotional self, right? Recognize that. Ah, I'm happy you get to learn from me too, Wendy. Thank you. You had the opportunity in Lisa's class today to recognize a piece of me I didn't exist, right? Yeah, exactly. And so when we start to recognize those places within us, it really truly changes things for us. Well, Amelia, I'm so glad you were here tonight, and I always just show up, and I never know exactly what the messages are going to be, because that's the beautiful things with these cards. There was three of us that were working with the cards the other night. Not one of us got the same messages. Not one of us seen the same thing. And then between myself and the artist, Amelia Richard, um, between the two of us, what I would sketch and what she would create would so come out, in a somewhat alike but different. It was so amazing to watch. Everyone is going to have a different story. Everyone is going to see differently and hear differently. Even if you're looking at the same image, nobody will see it the same because you all had different eyes. You will not hear things the same. And the reason why is because you all have a different narrative happening inside of you, a different emotional connection to something, a different way that you're going to express it. So everyone has a different thought, story, process. And so we're not always going to have the same. This was so needed tonight. I went through a sexual assault at 15. I became a very empty, angry person. I often say to my partner, I wish he knew the person I was. Listening to you, I realized I got to let go of that person. Right. Yes. So you're holding on to that 15-year-old girl, and you're wanting to be her again. But even if you had not experienced that, you still wouldn't be her, Amelia. You would not be her. And yeah, I mean, I have my own stories of being forced sexually in places, and I'm like, but we're not those people, right? We're not that version. And so by recognizing her, you acknowledge that beautiful 15-year-old girl, and you acknowledge her with such love. Then you tell her she was never ever, you know, sorry that you've carried this with you for so long, that when you look at her, look through the eyes of love, of I'm sorry, you're not responsible to keep carrying me now. I'm sorry that I ever let you be, accountable to carry all of this weight, all of this story, all this energy. And we release her, let her go into the spirit world, is what I call. Let her go, let her set her free. And by setting her free, you're setting yourself free of continually being living, trying to compete and compare to the 15-year-old, or trying to repair the life of the 15-year-old. The woman that you are today is a strong, courageous woman, or else she wouldn't be right here today. And so when you can see the strong, courageous woman, I'm telling you, you're seeing something that's so amazing. So when you see yourself at the end of the story, see yourself standing at the end. So see the 15-year-old still standing. See her at 16, see her at 17, see that she's still here. And so who your partner has today, he would not have wanted, he's not looking for the 15-year-old. He fell in love with the woman that you are. There's something that he's seen that you don't see. So you have to start to see what he sees in you. So see the strong, courageous woman that's standing today. Look at her today and start there. That's where you start, Amelia. Christy, we went through that with my brother. I wanted him to have a fourth surgery because I couldn't stand to lose him. But the chance of him having severe defects was high. But in my selfish state, I wanted to keep him no matter the cost. I see it differently now. Yes, exactly, right? And that's true. At the cost of him, in that moment, in that experience, you wanted so bad for him to stay. You wanted so bad for him to stay. And we all know how active and busy he is here. And so you wanted him to stay. So you know, we fight for that cause. We fight for them to do those things. We fight for them to, and we have to listen to them. He knew. He knew in his heart he couldn't do that again, right? And so by seeing it now, that now you know, now you recognize, right? And so from here, you know you have to walk through that grief, but recognizing that he's still here. So now you're building another relationship with your brother through spirit, and building a sense of connection in a new way. And a sense of love. I don't know why. I'm I'm pausing because I'm listening here, Christy. So a sense of love. I just feel like a new understanding of unconditional love. And I think that unconditional love, it's what's really changing your life. The grief you're walking through, unconditional love. I really think you are understanding that unconditional love that surrounds you now. And that's what you have. You are so surrounded in unconditional love now. No conditions. It is just there. It's just there. So thank you, everybody. I wasn't staying an hour. These are supposed to be 15-minute sessions, but you know how this always go when we get in here. But I'll be back for card number 3 for tomorrow, which will be, hold on. Tomorrow we're doing this beautiful card tomorrow. And her name is Paradox. So tomorrow we'll be working on Paradox. For tonight, I want you to look in the mirror, and I want to ask you to look in with love, and to look deep enough so that you can see a light, and to show yourself mercy, forgiveness, to start the process of forgiveness, starting with self, to see yourself as a return to innocence. And as we all sleep tonight, it's like as the day ends, everything of who you were today is now done. You sleep, you rest, you shut down. You wake up tomorrow, it's a rebirth. And tomorrow you get the opportunity of another moment, another moment to have an opportunity to try again, to do things differently, and to truly be able to allow yourself to start tomorrow with a thank you. I always start every day with a thank you. Start every day with a thank you. Much love. Have a wonderful night. And I will see you all tomorrow. And for any of the women that are in my Goddess Soul Retrieval tomorrow, or the book club tomorrow night, I will see you guys then. Much love. Have a beautiful night. Bye-bye.